There is a short piece of security footage that investigators would later watch hundreds of times. It's only 13 seconds long. No audio. No dramatic moment. Just a quiet suburban afternoon. A man and a teenage girl walk across a front lawn toward a house. His hand rests lightly on her shoulder. He looks to the left. Then to the right. Then back again. Not the way someone checks traffic, the way someone checks for witnesses. They step inside. The door closes. The girl never comes back out. What makes this footage chilling isn't what you see. It's who the man is. He isn't a stranger lurking in the shadows. He isn't a suspicious figure caught by chance. He's her stepfather. A man who had lived with her for years. A man her mother trusted completely. The girl's name was Brooke Holloway. She was 16 years old, a junior at Riverview High School in Florida. She had a 3.8 GPA, played volleyball, and talked about becoming a nurse someday. Her friends described her as dependable, the kind of person who always answered messages, always came home on time, always checked in with her mom. On March 22, 2024, Brooke arrived home from school with her stepfather, Ray Carver. The camera mounted near the front of the house captured those final 13 seconds. 4 hours later, Ray called police and reported Brooke missing. He told them she had gone to her room after dinner. That he had watched television and fallen asleep on the couch. That when his wife, Denise, called from work, he checked Brooke's room and realized her window was open and she was gone. Her phone was on the bed. Her shoes were still by the door. Her backpack hadn't been touched. At first, investigators considered the obvious explanation. 16-year-old girl. Open window. No sign of forced entry. Maybe she ran away. But Denise knew her daughter. Brooke didn't sneak out. She didn't leave without her phone. She didn't disappear without telling someone. And there was something else that didn't sit right. That security footage. Because when detectives slowed it down, frame by frame, they noticed something subtle but important. Ray's head movements. The way he scanned the area before entering the house. The way his hand stayed on Brooke's shoulder just a second too long. That's when the question changed. Not, where did Brooke go? But, what happened inside that house? And the answer to that question didn't begin in 2024. It began 7 years earlier, with another disappearance, one that no one ever solved. Hook. Because before Brooke vanished, another member of her family had already disappeared, and the man responsible had been standing beside them the entire time. In 2017, Brooke Holloway was 9 years old. Her life was simple, structured, and safe. Her father, Nathan Holloway, worked in pharmaceutical sales. Her mother, Denise, was a medical assistant. They lived in a quiet neighborhood, attended church, and spent weekends hosting barbecues with friends. Nathan traveled occasionally for work, short trips, predictable routes. In March of that year, he left for a business trip to Atlanta. He kissed Denise goodbye, hugged Brooke, and promised he'd be home by Thursday. He never returned. Nathan's rental car was later found abandoned at a rest stop in southern Georgia. His wallet and suitcase were still inside. There were no signs of a struggle. No witnesses. No body. Police investigated but hit a wall. With no evidence of foul play, rumors began to circulate. Some people suggested Nathan had left voluntarily. That he'd started a new life somewhere else. Denise refused to believe that, at first. But as months passed, doubt crept in. And then, someone stepped forward to help. His name was Ray Carver. Ray worked at the same pharmaceutical company as Nathan, though in a different department. He claimed they weren't close, just co-workers who crossed paths occasionally. Ray sent a sympathy card through company mail. Months later, flowers arrived on the anniversary of Nathan's disappearance. He didn't push. He didn't hover. He waited. Eventually, Denise called to thank him. They talked for nearly an hour. Ray listened. He reassured her. He said Nathan loved his family too much to walk away. What Denise didn't know was that Ray wasn't comforting her out of kindness. He was comforting her out of guilt. Because investigators would later uncover a photograph hidden in a locked safe, a photo Ray never intended anyone to see. It showed Nathan Holloway at a gas station in Valdosta, Georgia. The timestamp read March 14, 2017, the day Nathan vanished. The photo was taken from inside another vehicle. Ray's vehicle. Authorities now believe Ray had been watching the Holloway family for years. Learning routines. Listening to conversations. Waiting for the right moment. Nathan's travel schedule wasn't secret. His favorite gas stop wasn't secret. Ray simply remembered what others forgot. After Nathan disappeared, Ray returned to work like nothing had happened. He waited 7 months before reaching out to Denise. Then he waited years more, slowly inserting himself into her life. By the time Denise realized she was falling in love again, Ray was already part of the family. And Brooke, still grieving her father, trusted him completely. Re-hook. What no one realized was that Ray didn't want Denise. He wanted her life, and he was willing to wait as long as it took to take it. Ray Carver didn't rush anything. For 3 years, he played the role of the supportive friend. He helped with repairs around the house. Checked in without overstepping. Told Brooke stories about her father from work, stories that made her feel close to the man she had lost. In 2020, Denise married him. The neighborhood saw it as a happy ending. A widow finds love again. A child gains a father figure. Ray became the man people trusted, the kind neighbors admired, the kind parents felt safe around. And for a while, he played the part flawlessly. He drove Brooke to school. Attended her volleyball games. Helped with homework. Passed every background check. No criminal record. No warning signs. But in the months before Brooke disappeared, small things began to change. Ray started asking specific questions about her friends. Who stayed home alone? Whose parents worked late? He checked Brooke's phone when he thought she wasn't looking. Sometimes, he stood in her doorway at night, watching her sleep. Brooke mentioned it once to a friend. She couldn't explain it, just that something felt off. He's just protective, her friend said. Brooke tried to believe that. On March 22, Denise was working a double shift at the hospital. Ray picked Brooke up from volleyball practice. They stopped for groceries. Then they went home. At 4:52 p.m., Brooke texted her mom, "Home safe. Love you." That was the last message she ever sent. Later that night, her friend tried calling. No answer. Denise called home from work. Ray answered calmly, until he checked Brooke's room. That's when his voice changed. The window was open. She was gone. Re-hook. But one small detail, a birthday gift Brooke never took off, would expose the truth Ray spent 7 years hiding. Brooke had an Apple Watch. Denise remembered it 3 days after her daughter disappeared. It wasn't in Brooke's room. It wasn't in the house. Using the family's Apple account, Denise checked the location history. What she saw made her stomach drop. On the night Brooke vanished, the watch pinged for over 3 hours, not from their home, but from an address Denise recognized immediately. Ray's old house in Brandon, Florida. The house he claimed he couldn't sell. The house that had sat empty for years. Police obtained a warrant and searched the property. Inside the garage, they found a folded tarp with blood on it. DNA confirmed it belonged to Brooke. Cadaver dogs alerted to disturbed soil in the backyard, recently dug, recently emptied. Whatever had been there was moved. Behind a section of newer drywall, investigators found a fireproof safe bolted into the wall. Inside was a lockbox. Inside the lockbox was 7 years of obsession. Photographs. Screenshots. Images of Denise from social media. Photos of Brooke at volleyball games taken from a distance. And the photo of Nathan at the gas station, the proof Ray had been there the day he vanished. Ray Carver was arrested on April 5, 2024. He never spoke. Rehook. And even after conviction, Ray would find one last way to punish the woman who trusted him most. Ray Carver was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder in November 2024. Life without parole. The evidence was overwhelming. The timeline. The blood. The location data. The photographs. But there was one thing Ray never gave investigators. The bodies. Nathan Holloway and Brooke Holloway have never been found. Ray has remained silent through interrogations, trial, and sentencing. When Denise begged him in court to tell her where her husband and daughter were buried, he stared straight ahead. He knows. And he will never say. Denise still lives in the same house. She watches that 13-second video over and over, searching for something she missed. Brooke looks normal. Safe. Unaware. Ray will die in prison with the truth. And that may be the cruelest part of all. Final rehook/closing line. If you ever feel something is wrong, even when you can't explain it, listen. Because Brooke felt it too. And no one listened in time.